11, make a wish, peeps. Make a wish.
Hi, guys.
What's going on? We'll wait for people to hop on. An impromptu live. You're sitting on my locks, man.
Oh, I'm sorry. They're so long.
Yes, they're pretty long.
Crazy.
I need them to keep me warm because it'd be cold out here.
When you're hiking, they're kind of hidden.
You don't need it next. You just kind of wrap
Just kind of, yeah. I kind of, like, when I'm out there and I have to, like, keep it from, like, when I squat to do my business, I just wrap it around my neck and I'm good. What's up, peeps? We're waiting for people to hop on here. We're doing a quick...
Littles.
Peeps and littles. Got a surprise here, OutsideJay. This dude, oh man, I gotta share some stuff with you guys. So, PCT, first time through hiking this amazing trail, and this guy has been helping me from the beginning. Anytime I had any questions, he was always willing to help me. Trail Angel, you want to share a little bit about yourself? PCT Trail Angel knows a lot about the PCT.
Hi, guys. I'm OutsideJay. And kind of just winging this presentation. I've been a trail angel for quite some time. I started trail angeling in 2005, picking up people in the Tahoe area. And then I'd say in the last 5 years, I've been more or less trail angeling the entire trail pretty well. And then I know a lot about what these guys are going through right now based on 2023 and 2024, the high snow years. And that also includes some of the years prior to that. I believe Acuna was on the trail at 2017. So that was a high snow year for especially early season right about now. So that was the point of talking to first Fab and then to all of you too, if any of you guys are on trail. So we wanted to be able to answer some of the questions that you might have.
Yeah, because we're going through, and we knew this was going to happen since we started early in the season through hiking. So we knew once we got to this point, we had to make a decision whether we were going to push on, which I'm not a fan of because I don't do hiking in the snow at all. Post-holing, I'm not the tallest dude, so if people are post-holing to their waist, I'm probably post-holing to my neck. So I'm not down with that. So Jay has some info to share with us and with you guys for those of you who are either planning a through hike this season or different season, and how to approach it when the conditions aren't favorable. So how do we look right now as far as, so we're at, if you're looking at the far out, we're in the Walker Pass section. So we're about 50 miles away from Kenny Meadows. So where we're at right now with the conditions that you know, what do you think is the best, some of the solutions for us to kind of, and I say this all the time when I decided to do a through hike, I don't want to suffer through it. I want to be able to enjoy it. And I know the Sierra section is a section that people say is their favorite. I want it to be my favorite as well, but it won't be my favorite if it's not in a condition that I can actually enjoy it. So what do you say as far as your intel? What's kind of some of the options we have?
Okay. So my input to you and to any of your audience is that I am a hike your own hike kind of guy. I believe my job is to give you guys information. You guys decide based on that information what you want to do. And then after you guys decide what you guys want to do, then my job becomes to support you in that decision. So whatever I say, if it sounds like it's fear-mongering, I promise I am not trying to fear-monger. That is the absolute opposite of what my intention is today, is to tell you what not to do. I want to tell you what to do based on what your decision tree looks like. I wanted to first start out with skipping. So if you're flipping or skipping and you're leaving the trail in one section and going to a trail in a separate section, or skipping or flipping, what you are going to consider at that point is how easy it is to get there, to leave trail, and then after you're done with your flip, to come back to trail. So you certainly don't want to do this in, for instance, Belden. No public transportation, very little traffic. The worst place on the entire PCT is to flip away from Belden, because now you're going to have to come back to Belden to go either south or north, depending on. So just make sure that you're considering things. So last year when we had the big park fire, a lot of people skipped from Truckee, park fires in the middle, and then they all went up to Ashland, because by the time they got to Dunsmuir or Etna, there was the Shelley fire near Etna. And so a lot of them went from Truckee all the way to Ashland, went north, but then they were easily able to get back to either Truckee or Ashland. So just another consideration for you guys. Also consider that you're going to spend a hotel room the night before your skip, and then when you get to the skip, you're going to spend a hotel room. You might spend a hotel room there, so it becomes more expensive to flip and skip. So those are just some of the cons with flipping and skipping. Obviously, the pros are going to be that you're avoiding whatever section that you're trying to avoid. So just consider those when you are skipping or flipping. And I'll have some of that later on as flipping becomes more mandatory, hopefully not for this class, but because of fires, flipping is part of the trail experience now. All right, so right now the question is to travel north from Kennedy Meadows, and or to how far north to travel from Kennedy Meadows on trail. And that's where we go through road closures and stuff. And then the other option is to skip north to trail north of probably the Sierra at this point, and then where to jump on trail. The traditional place to skip the entire Sierra is to jump back on trail at Chester. However, once you get to Chester, you'll spend a night in Chester, probably, and then you'll get to the Chester trailhead. You will, the first couple of miles north of Chester is going to be in Lassen National Park, so you'll go up into snow and elevation in Lassen National Park. And then you'll drop down into the Hat Creek from Old Station towards Bernie, and then Bernie Guest Ranch. Those areas there will be free of snow, or almost free of snow, unless there's some shady spots there. And so that's a perfect section to skip to if you're trying to avoid all of the Sierra, which again has lots of pros as well as cons, but there's some really good pros that we were talking about before this presentation, about doing the Sierra Sobo in September or October, which were our perfect, amazing times of the year to be in the Sierra. So that's where skipping might also be an option, because at this point you're going to see a lot of snow in the Sierra, whereas if you do it in September, October, you're going to see a lot of waterfalls and lakes and the trail. So it'll be a completely different experience in September, October as opposed to now. All right, so there is a critical spot at mile 1445 just outside of Bernie, where 1442 is your last egress off the trail. At about 1445, you're going to go down into a gully, and then you're going to go up towards Mushroom Rock. If you go down into the gully and then decide you don't want to go up towards Mushroom Rock, you will be stuck because there is no egress down in that gully. It's a very, very, very poor egress out of that valley. So you need to make up your mind before you go down at 1445, before you go down into this gully, whether you're going to continue to go up Mushroom Rock. So that's probably the only obstacle, because by the time you get to the next obstacle near Etna, and then the third obstacle would be near Sayed Valley, those obstacles will probably be melted out by then. Again, I can't guarantee anything, but in those cases, the snow melt will be melting out. And I'll go through a little pros and cons about that if we have time for going through snow in the Northern California area. But there's a lot of pros and cons, and this is why I wanted to do this live video, is because I wanted to introduce some of these pros and cons, whether you flip or you don't flip through the Sierra.
Someone's saying don't skip Bernie Falls, so I don't think.
Yeah,
I don't think you were saying that.
no. This is before Bernie Falls. Let's see, Bernie Falls. This is after Bernie Falls.
Yeah. And guys, if you have any questions, please, now is the time to ask. Acuna, if you wanna, Acuna's here. The screen wasn't, but you can take my spot if you want, right here.
I just pop in.
Yeah. And you, do you want to add a little bit of what Jay is saying? Jay has a lot of great information. I know you're very experienced with this and had in 2017 gone through this. So, do you want to add anything?
Right now there's nothing really for me to add. It's like I was telling you the other day, this is a matter of comfort zone.
Yeah.
There's no wrong or right answer to this. It's more about what's most comfortable for you. For me, I'm a go see it person and then reassess from there. And, that's kind of the way I'm looking at it right now, is to find your different bailouts just in case it's more than what you want to do and then make your plan from there.
But we were discussing also before this the road closures. Do you want to introduce that a little bit? The Horseshoe Meadows Road.
Oh yeah, you have bailouts outside of Kennedy Meadows prior to getting to Kearsarge and Whitney and Forrester, and that's not far from Chicken Spring Lake. You have Cottonwood Pass. You have Horseshoe Meadows, where you have the 23-mile road back into Lone Pine. Currently, they're closed. They should be opening soon. And in past heavy snow years, it is an option to walk 7 to 8 miles down these roads where you get phone service, and then you can always contact the Trail Angel in Lone Pine. They're going to pick you up. But it's always important to know your bailouts, because you may be like me and want to go see it yourself, but if you find out it's more than what you're comfortable with, you need to know your way out.
Yeah, so the search terms to find out whether roads are closed on the lower eastern Sierra would be Inyo County road closures. That'll take you to the main page, and then there's a link that says road closures. This was last updated April 25th, so a while back. It's due to be updated again, and we're looking for Horseshoe Meadows Road to see if Horseshoe Meadows Road is open or not. I predict that it will be opening really soon, like sometime in this next week. I predict that Horseshoe Meadows Road is going to open soon. A little trick that we did for the class of 23 was, and this is kind of below the radar because these guys could get in trouble because I guess they were breaking some of the rules that they had, was I was telling hikers to get to the tops of the passes of closed roads. So in this case, Horseshoe Meadows Road, the top of that, during the midweek around 12, 1, or 2 p.m. because the road crews get from the town, they go up to the closed gate, they open the gate, and then they pass the gate, they close the gate behind them, then they work up at elevation where you guys are coming down. That's a Monday through Friday thing. So if you time your coming down at the time that they are leaving work, then there's often times where you can get a ride down into town. So a lot of the a lot of the hikers in 23 were able to capitalize on that, and road crews would take them into town.
Very nice. Good point.
If you are going to do that to a closed road, then I would definitely suggest that option. Monday through Friday.
Okay. So our situation right now with the conditions that us waiting maybe a week before we even start heading to Kennedy Meadows, you think that's a good plan?
I think it's a good plan. If you had 2 weeks, that would probably be a better plan. Again, if you had a week, me personally, I would probably go to walk to KMS, and then walk past KMS to one of the passes that would lead to Horseshoe Meadows Road. Mm-hmm. So here's kind of a thing that I've got in my head, but Mulkey Pass, Trail Pass, and Cottonwood Pass all go into Cottonwood Campground, which is at the very top of Horseshoe Meadows Road.
Okay.
And so you could exit any of those passes, get to the Cottonwood Campground, and then if Horseshoe Meadows Road is open, which I predict is going to be open very soon, then get a ride into Lone Pine. So you'd be able to exit the PCT, whether you flip or resupply in Lone Pine from there. So I highly suggest waiting for that option, and we're actually right there at that option.
Okay, that's good. And you kind of touched on this, but people always say this. So if we flip, we say we skip the Sierra section, people are like, but you're still going to hit snow. And my point is, we're not necessarily trying to skip all snow, just snow where it's kind of treacherous. So talk a little bit about, if you know, about the snow that's in, say, we skip to Oregon and hit to Washington and all that.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
I wouldn't skip all the way to Oregon. Well, you're more than welcome to skip all the way to Oregon. It's just it leaves you a lot of Northern California and the Sierra to do at the end of your hike.
So let me backtrack. So people are saying there's snow in NorCal also and all that. So not just Oregon or Washington, but also there's snow in NorCal. So
yeah,
all those
yeah,
got pretty beat up. Oregon had well above average snowpack for this year. So
right. So
still a thing that's linking.
So skipping up to NorCal again, not necessarily trying to skip miss all snow, but just not trying to be in a treacherous area.
Yeah. So the snow level in NorCal is much lower than the snow level elevation up in the Sierra. So it does make sense to skip to avoid that treacherous snow and go to a lower elevation snow. There are pros and cons with lower elevation snow. A lot of 23, 24 hikers, they were walking on a snow path. Remember, you're doing a lot of route finding, which I'll go over briefly in a little bit, but you're going over snow, and then all of a sudden you fall.
Oh.
What happened was there was a blowdown that you didn't see because all it's snow covered, and you fell into the tree well behind the blowdown that you didn't see, and now you have ankle or wrist injury, something minor, I hope, but sometimes a pack strap gets caught in the branches of that blowdown, and now that injury could be more severe. So just be careful. A lot of times you're route finding because you're on your phone because you don't see the route, and now the additional blowdown issues happen. Even if you can see the blowdown, if there's snow in front and behind the blowdown, it's really hard to gauge the height because you're going to drop into the snow and before you climb over the blowdown. Let's see.
I want to add a point that in that situation, and this is really important, to try to do this with a group. So not try to do this section alone. So I would never attempt to do this section alone. I have 2 other hiking partners, maybe more. So if we find ourselves in a situation where we do fall, whatever, we have someone that's there with us and can, assist with whatever's happening. But yes, I agree with all that, but it's good to be with other hikers.
And then the other consideration is you're now the tip of the spear. You were at the head of the spear getting to the Sierra fast, but now that you flipped up, there's no other hikers in front of you. So now you're at the tip of the spear. So now your role changes as a hiker, as in you're now doing your own route finding, you're doing your own navigational skills as opposed to following someone else's recommendations ahead. There are a lot of times where in the Northern California area where the trail is close to water, and if you are going over a snow bridge or something like that, then you could end up landing in the water. And so now you're going to find a route that is away from trail that follows, let's say, a safer dirt road or a safer fire road, which is a lot of people did. The problem is now you're route finding off of the trail, so you're going to have to use more than far out, because far out is great as long as you're on the red line or on the blue line. But if you're trying to make a green line somewhere else here, then far out's not very helpful. So you're navigating in cold, so you're using a lot of batteries in cold, and you're going slow because you're going through ice and snow, and so now you're packing more food as far as you're concerned. So now you're your backpack is heavier and you're doing stream crossings and or traveling over snow with a heavier backpack because you're carrying more food. So just a lot of things to consider that you hadn't considered because flipping wasn't an option at one point. So there are pros and cons. It can all those things are easily mitigated with enough preparation. But again, things that should be considered. The other thing is if there's snow that's overhang. So if there's a cornice, then a lot of times the trail is right here, and you don't want to be a couple of feet to the left of that, or else that cornice might give out. Or this again with the snow bridges, you want to be careful not to be in a temperature zone where you'll fall through a snow bridge in the water.
I can't even. Thinking about that.
It sounds a lot scarier than it. Again, this is not to fearmonger. This sounds a lot scarier than it really is. I am trusting that you made it. I want everyone to hear this. You made it over 600 miles now, wherever you are. If you're at Walker Pass or if you're at Lake Isabella, you've made it 550, 600 miles, doing good critical thinking, good decision-making skills. So this part is, again, part of your decision-making skills. When you get there, you're going to be making good decision-making skills as well. So don't consider this as fear-mongering. Just consider this as stuff that you may have not thought about ahead of time.
Yeah, no, this is good info. This is all new to me. You guys have the experience as far as your knowledge and Akuna's experience. So, yeah, this is good stuff. Not fear-mongering. It's just good to have the information so you can make the right decisions. So if you guys have any questions, please, now is the time. What else do we want to add to this for? So we're talking about hitting the Sierra section too early and how we want to avoid anything that could be too treacherous for us to hike through. What do you say about those that decide to just hike through it? So we were just talking before we started this live that some people have a deadline and they don't have time to skip this section and come back. What do you say to them about those that just can't skip and have to go through?
The Sierras is an adventure. In the wintertime, it is a complete adventure. So I have never been in the Sierras when there's so much snow there. I have gotten hundreds of photos from the class of 23 and 24 for people who have done the Sierras. It's an amazing place and time that you'll never ever see elsewhere, and you could always come back in September and October on a different year and see the Sierra for what other people see the Sierra for. So if you're in for that kind of adventure, I highly recommend it. But also I want you to be skillful in knowing how to use your equipment, and then you're going to want to know how to use your equipment at the times that your equipment is good for. So there's only a couple of hours of time that you're going to be able to make progress in the Sierra. And so that's why a lot of people wake up at 2 a.m. to start doing their Sierra, because the snow is so soft that you're post-holing by 11 a.m. Mm-hmm. So you have stopped progress at 11, and then you go to sleep early so that you can wake up at 2. One of the things that I tell people, and what I've brought to Kennedy Meadows, is reflective stickers for your bear cans. Because if you're going to try to find your bear can at 2 a.m., then you want it to be reflective. Also, if you have a brand new bear can, lube the inside of the lid with silicone lube, and I have that in both places at Kennedy Meadows, so that the condensation during the afternoon doesn't creep up to the lid, freeze you out of first breakfast or freeze you out of second breakfast because of a frozen lid. So just lube that up.
That's a great tip, because I got to have my breakfast. Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so if you're waking up at 2 a.m. up at elevation...
yeah, so someone's saying staying in your comfort zone and using good judgment is what keeps a hiker safe. I agree.
Yeah. So always have an exit plan, even if that exit plan might be, minus 1 day of food. You're going to exit hungry, but you'll still have an exit plan to go away. You should not, if you are at a point of no return and you choose to go forward, you have diminished all of your options to just now one option where you have to go forward. I've done that. I'm guilty of that a couple of times. So I can't say that that is unavoidable, but I just want you to be mindful of that time where you are approaching the point of no return, and to also be able to back off and get back off trail from that point of no return. I don't want you to get to that point of no return and your only alternative is to hit your SOS button, which, if that happens, I'm not sweating you. I'm not trying to throw shade on you. I'm just saying is, if you know that you're going to get a point of no return where you have to hit your SOS button, I think you've gone too far. I think you should get a little bit closer to that and then be able to back off from trail.
You never want to hit that SOS button because then you're putting other people in danger too. So, but if obviously that's what it's there for. So yeah.
People live too. I did it for 10 years. I loved going to rescue people. So that's our job at that point. So we live to do that. But my heartbeat raises when I'm when I'm helping someone who knows what they're doing. My emotions plummet if I am going to rescue someone who's in cotton jeans and a t-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're making wise decisions and then you hit your SOS button, I'm all for you. If you are making very, very, very poor decisions and then you hit your SOS button, yeah, I'm rolling my eyes.
That's what's up, man. That's a good point. You want to add anything, Acuna?
I'm along for the ride right now.
Yeah, man. I'm listening to all the words of wisdom here. So, any last words you want to add? Or
feel free to contact Derick, and I'm always available.
Give him your info.
So, I'm OutsideJay on Instagram, but I don't really check my messages on Instagram. So I check my message on Facebook often. And then if you message me on Instagram or Facebook and want my phone number, I'll give you my phone number, and then that's the best way to contact me.
What are the groups the PC groups that you run?
I admin for the Quincy page. I co-admin for the Eastern Sierra page. And then I have two of my pages were just pro tips, and the California page. And I'm very active on the uncensored page, PCT Class of 2025 Uncensored. I'm a moderator there, so you can always find me there to help you out. And like I said, I want to see. I picture myself as being supportive of you and hikers. And so, therefore, if something is being misinterpreted, then please give me an opportunity to walk that back and backpedal on that. But yeah, I'm easy to find, so feel free to contact me if you have any other questions.
That's awesome. And you guys know Acuna, right?
And it was nice meeting you.
All right, peeps. I hope this helped for those of you who are either planning or thinking or just following along. We have a lot of decisions to make, and we're going to hopefully make the right ones, and we'll continue this awesome
I have
adventure.
faith you're making the right ones.
Thank you.
Are making the right ones.
I love you, brother. See you, peeps.